I'm going to show you the hidden past of our lost world, and I'm going to show you guys how you guys can figure this out on your own. Now, I've worked construction a long time, and I know what it takes to build, and what I'm going to show you guys is the rabbit hole of the Great Reset, and for you guys to be able to prove it for yourself. The one thing about Colorado is it's very unique the way it was set up, and I'll show you guys why. Alright, so I'm going to give you guys the history lesson on this and give you guys the keys to really understanding what I'm trying to present to you. The time frame, the materials that they had available to use, the technology that they had. So the story goes is that Cheyenne got the train, then Denver in 1870, 1872 Colorado Springs got the train, and then Pueblo got the train in 1872. There was no way in or out of Colorado except for by horse or wagon or by train. And so if you had to move large materials, it would have had to been done by horse and wagon. And that's the thing, is you can only load up so much material on a horse and wagon. It's not like today where we have semis that can carry massive amounts of weight, up to like 80,000 pounds. So now that I've kind of given you guys that little history, I want to take you guys in to show you guys these maps. Now if you click into them, they'll take you, and we're going to focus on Denver. And I wanted to do a side-by-side to show you guys like exactly the layout of Denver, and here is a modern day map of it taken off of Google. Now as you can see, this right here, this line right here, and we'll go into the map, is Colfax, and it runs the entire length. And so I-70 Colfax is like about right here. Alright, so let's take you into the map. Alright, so we got Colfax is running right here. And we'll go down and zoom in. Show you guys it's Colfax. Colfax right there. And then you can see the one-line diagrams for the trolley system that they actually also installed at this time, and you can do the mapping on it. Now I did find where Pueblo, Colorado had 35 miles of electric trolley system put in their city in record time with everything else. So what I want to take you guys to is school land, and let's zoom in the Google Earth and take you to school land, which is now East High School and City Park. And here's Colfax right here running. This is like York and Race Street right here. So we'll zoom in and I'll show you this building they built, and I'll give you the time frame. It was said it opened up in 1875. So within 5 years after Denver getting the train, they built this massive high school, and I'm going to show you that they built this with everything else. Okay, so this massive brick high school was erected in record time in 1875. So let me pull that out and show you guys. So East High School opened up in 1875. So that means it had to been built or started building around 1873 by their standards, 1874, because it's like they erect these massive brick buildings in the middle of the night. And that's another thing. Nobody thinks about all the masoneries that it actually had to take, and that you have to have a laydown area. Your materials are being ordered, and being that it's these well decorated brick buildings, could you imagine the layout on that to make sure that you put every block where it's supposed to go? So these were really intense buildings when they built them. A lot of people don't understand is back in the day they used plaster and lath, and then they also used metal stampings, a sheet by, let's look that up. So the metal stamping that they used to put in these buildings, because they were so well decorated, and you can imagine the time that it actually takes to install these ceilings. And this is another thing that people don't understand, is they didn't have any power tools in order to do this. They had ladders, they had some scaffolding, and that's it, and horse and wagon as their power tools, because everything was done by hand back then. So now that you kind of understand these well decorated buildings that they used to build back in the day, that we can't even come close to not only building it, because we don't have enough skilled labor, we don't have enough engineers today that could build something of this nature. And so what you have to think about is the cost of everything too. They built these buildings at record time with the lowest cost. So they say that construction's actually gone backwards. instead of moving forwards, which is really hard to believe when you look at a building like this and you understand the detail that it actually takes to make something this grand and this beautiful. And so what I'm going to show you guys too is I have my drive that I've put together, and this is how I was able to put all these pieces together. If you come down to Colorado State, and you can go into Denver, Colorado, and everything that I found on Denver, Sunborn maps, pictures. And so this ledger for the maps is to show you guys what they built the buildings out of and the materials that they use. So these will give you the key references points to the Sunfire prints. Now, that is the craziest thing. When I stumbled across these, it was like, how in the world could you build all of this at once? And that's basically what they're trying to tell you. So if we go back and look at this school that was built in Denver, Colorado opened in 1875, so we'll say that the completion date was 1874. And let's exit out of the street view, and I want to show you guys let's go north again. So if you go in my Google Drive, you're going to find this map of 1893 is when this map was actually made, and this is a Sunborn map. And let's zoom in here to give you guys an idea of what area is being covered. So on this map, this is Colfax right here. We've seen the Denver East High School here and City Park that is now occupying what used to be school land. And these are city blocks. That's how massive this is. These are city blocks right here. And so in these prints, I'll take you to where you can get this information. Is to go back into Denver and go to 1893 right here. And this is actually what they're showing was built. And you could go in here and look at all of the infrastructure and everything that they built. All the streets were laid out. And not only why Denver's being built, Colorado Springs is being built, and Trinidad, Canyon City, the mining towns, all of it is being built in record time, with the only way in or out is through the Front Range on train or by horse and wagon. So not only are they bringing in building materials, they're bringing in logistics for food, retail goods, goods and services, basically. They're bringing in people, they're bringing in livestock, they're bringing in iron ore, they're bringing in cattle. All of this stuff is going on all at once to bring in to make this mountain town range that they have from basically Denver to Colorado Springs to Pueblo. Pueblo used to slaughter like 500 cattle a day in their meat factory plant of Knuckles. So, I mean, think about all of the cattle that's also coming in. And what I say by goods and service, that would have been the goods and service back then. The only way to transport stuff other by horse and wagon, and you can only load a wagon up with so much material. That's just the basics. It's not designed to carry heavy material like blocks and stone and bricks. Alright, so let's go back to give you guys an idea of what they all built. All of these are all these brick buildings filled in, and then you can go through and look at the key ledger and it'll tell you what they're made out of. And what I want you guys to really understand is this map right here is only covering the highlighted parts. So when you go into the map, match up 110, and this will give you this, and these are city blocks right here. Now this is the craziest thing when you really think about it, the Union Station that they built. So let's go back into Denver, Colorado, and we'll look through some of the pictures that I was able to put together. Now I need to go back in and clean this up because like I've mostly focused on Pueblo because it was the easiest one. But what you need to do is match up all of these stone buildings that were record builds and magnificent, and think about all the detail and everything that went into making these plans, the engineering. And you have electrical, you have plumbing, and you probably have gas also coming into these buildings on certain ones. So you have to imagine the infrastructure that they had to lay out. They already had to lay out the city, put in all the underground, and then come back in and lay out all the city streets for them to start building. And it can't be done in record time with everybody building all at once. So basically within 23 years of getting the train, and here's Union Depot. This is their Union Depot in Denver, Colorado. Massive, massive stone and brick building. One of many. And that's just the thing. Where did they get all the stone? Where did they get all the materials to build all this? And when you really think about it, like really think about it and give it critical thought, you think about all these magnificent structures that they built in record time, and we can't come to close to building anything like this today, not only by the labor, cost, and knowledge to build one. Just magnificent buildings that they built in Denver, Colorado in record time. And so on the Sunborn maps, you can go in and you can start piecing these buildings together. Now, one of the things that I got was, let me see, pictures. Let's go back into, okay, so we're going to go into these right here. These are the oldest basically pictures and maps that I could find of Denver. And so what I was able to do with Pueblo and Denver was I was able to blow these up enough to actually start looking for the names and start researching on each building. And when you come across, you see magnificent buildings built like this and record time out in the middle of the Old West, when the only way in was through Denver to Cheyenne until they built the way out from Pueblo. But I also found where there was a discrepancy in that when I was watching YouTube's PBS special of the flood of 1921, when they said that Denver actually had to go 173 miles out of the way in order to go west, which doesn't make any sense because they could have went to Wyoming, which was 80 miles away. But that's how I was able to figure out all of these pictures and put the buildings together. Now, I've seen a lot of other people kind of go over a lot of this stuff. There's a couple of YouTube channels, and I think John Levy's one of them that I watched, and so he helped me see some of the other stuff that I've missed in Colorado. And I've pretty much lived here most of my life. I've lived away in different states, but for the most part I was raised in Colorado, so I got to travel and see a lot of Colorado. And when I lived in Denver, you know, you kind of get a layout for the town. I mean, you have to think about this massive city that was built within basically 20 years. And not only why that's being built, Colorado Springs is being built and Pueblo's being built. So we'll look at Colorado Springs. This is a map of 1889 of Colorado Springs, and if you zoom in, you can see all of the city blocks that they already laid out. So that means they already put in the underground, and they're ready to start housing or start building development through the city. And then this one actually shows you all the buildings that they put down in Colorado Springs. Massive infrastructure. And supposedly this is in 1889. So basically, and that's another thing, like you really have to look at this as really time, what it actually takes to build something. Oops. All right, let's get the calculator out. So Colorado Springs didn't get the train until 1872. Minus this map, 1889. 17 years. 17 years to build all of this. And like I said, not only why this is being built, Pueblo is being built. So let's look at Pueblo. So this is a map of Pueblo, Colorado. Now I have discrepancies in this, and I'm going to go over a video where I'm going to prove that they built this stuff methodically. They built it city block by city block. And to have that many people come in all at once and a massive explosion of growth, not only are these people from different parts of the world, they're bringing in their culture and their ideas and their way of doing things, but yet all of these buildings match throughout the United States, all within record builds. And so this right here, I want to give you guys an idea of how crazy this really is. So if you come down here, and we're going to go to this little triangle right here. So here's Union Street. And this little triangle building, let me pull that up. Alright, so this little triangle building, and I'll point it out again right here, this little triangle building is right down here on Union Street. And I'll show you in the map where it actually comes in. So let's blow this up. Now when you're looking at these old photographs and stuff, look at for telephone pole lines, and this looks like it's power lines all brought in, and then you have to look at the picture that next you're going to see what is developed in the amount of time. Now, they went to an electric trolley system in 1890, so they had already laid the spine and the tracks throughout the city for 35 miles with the trolley system. Regardless, reminds you that Colorado Springs and Pueblo are all being built at the same time. And so if you come over to this picture, it's the same spot, just different in time. That this one was taken 1920s, Maine and Union. So they had a great flood that came through here and just decimated this place. So I'm assuming this is before the flood, because I have a flood picture where the building's half washed off, where the paint up here and then this down here is all washed off. And you could see in this picture that they put in Union Station, or not Union Station, I'm sorry. They put in City Hall went in here. It was the memorial for the World War I veterans. And so, like I said, all the telephone poles are gone. The streets are laid in. They've put in electric lights. They've wired into the buildings. And all of this done in record time within 20 years. And then this one from this picture would be 50 years from Pueblo getting the train in 1870 till 1920, before the flood of 1921. And like I said, when you're looking at this and you use common sense and you really think about this, you have to really understand the magnitude and what they had accomplished. Now, Pueblo, Colorado had 5 smelting, and it was the capital of the world. They also had the largest steel mill east of the Mississippi, built all within 10 to 20 years after getting the railroad. Somebody had to come in and lay all of these streets out and put all of these buildings in record time, and that's what nobody's putting together, is that you can't build like this in the amount of time. So I'm going to leave this video at this, and then I'm going to make some more to try to clarify this and point out each one of the flaws in all of this. So if you have any questions or you'd like to talk about it, I'd be more than happy.